Our first tipping point tonight is the mainstream media misrepresenting the mood of the nation, claiming that people are decidedly anti-Trump. Are more people than you'll see on liberal cable news shows actually supportive of President Trump's agenda? Governor Jim Justice said last night he was leaving the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party left him. Now, we've covered that extensively on this show. The Democrats are having an identity crisis. They refuse to condemn leaders in their own movement who openly support cop killers, who champion violence against Republicans, and who favor radical socialism over liberty and justice for all. With Governor Justice now a Republican, the GOP has control of 34 of the 50 governorships in our country, giving Republicans complete control in state governments in 26 states. Watch.
I can't help you anymore being a Democrat governor. So tomorrow, I will be changing my registration to Republican.
Joining me now from President Trump's Re-election Advisory Board, author of The Trump Factor, Brad Thomas. Brad, good to see you.
Good to see you again, Liz. Thanks so much.
All right, Brad, let's start with this question of the day today. This was not, I think, what a lot of people were expecting, given what the mainstream media has been reporting about people's feelings about Trump. If you listen to some of these liberal talking heads, you'd think that every single person regretted their vote for Donald Trump. But now we see the governor of West Virginia, who was a Democrat, re-registering as a Republican and claiming that the Democratic Party abandoned him. What do you make of this?
You know, first off, I watched the rally last night, and I'm here in South Carolina. I could feel that all the way from South Carolina to West Virginia. It was an amazing rally, and President Trump did a really good job. But listen, first off, I think the market is really, I agree, the media is missing it, but the market is not missing it. We see a record high, 22,000 this week at the Dow. We're seeing the jobs report today, 209,000 jobs that were created. So while the media is missing it, the market is not missing it. The market fully believes that Donald Trump is the deal maker in chief, and he's out doing this. We had a terrific week of announcements. And again, the media is missing it, but the market sure isn't missing it.
No, and it seems to me that the people might not be missing it either, given the energy that you said. I mean, everyone could see it that was at that rally last night. And here's what I think the truth of the matter is, Brad. I think that Trump has quietly accomplished more than the mainstream media has the courage to report on. They're worried. The mainstream media worries if they do report the truth that people won't stick with progressive candidates, especially as the Democratic Party is having such an identity crisis here, as they don't know exactly which way their platform is going to go, whether it's going to stay, more to the center, more moderate, or whether they're going to get pulled to the hard left, to the socialist left. But if we look at some of the accomplishments that President Trump has under his belt in these first 6 months, it's actually incredible.
It is, Liz. It's incredible. And, ironically, your show is called The Tipping Point. And I really believe the tipping point that we're talking about that's going to unite both sides is this corporate tax plan. This corporate tax plan is going to be the rising ship that lifts all boats. And I think this corporate tax plan is what he's focused on right now. We saw this throughout the week with Small Business Week. Corporate tax plan is going to have an immense impact to the Trump administration. And I think that is the tipping point, Liz, for the administration. Absolutely.
Right. And brownie points, by the way, for using the phrase tipping point in a sentence on my show. I love when people do that. No, I think people, and this is true for me too. I mean, I care deeply about Obamacare, but the media has made this fight in Congress over Obamacare the only story that can be talked about. And while they've done that, they've neglected to talk about everything else that President Trump has accomplished. And I want to go through some of those things. I mean, just look at immigration. Not only is he on board with the new immigration plan presented by Senator Perdue and Senator Cotton. I mean, if you look at border crossings have plummeted by something like 20% this year compared to what they were last year. The Supreme Court came out and said that Trump's travel ban was legal, except for a few minor aspects of it. Those are huge wins for the president.
Absolutely, Liz. And thank you for covering this in great detail. You're one of the few media channels that really is covering this the right way. And I just want to give you and your company a lot of credit for that. But absolutely, I think immigration is an important part of his agenda, and that's absolutely been he's hit the ball out of the park. And yeah, we've had some reshuffling in the White House. We talked about that last week on your show. And look, I think that's a big part of this. We've now got discipline in the White House, and I think now that we've got discipline, combined with the fact that Donald Trump is the deal maker in chief. We're seeing that every day. And you're right, this is not reported. These deals are not reported. There was hardly any media last week reported with Foxconn. You know, Apple is what really drove this stock market over 22,000 this week. But nobody wanted to talk about the supplier of Apple being Foxconn and the job creation that he was responsible for. So we're just not getting the credit in the media. But again, who cares? The market is up 22,000. We're going to continue to climb. And again, this corporate tax plan, Liz, mark my words, this is the rising tide tipping point that's going to lift President Trump and put him in the office the next term. Absolutely. You watch it. It's going to happen. And I believe it's going to happen this year, Liz.
Right. And I want to delve into that a little bit. I also want to say I've been pretty critical of the chaos that's been in Trump's White House. I don't think that that's an efficient way to manage people, and I don't think that's an efficient way of getting work done. But if you do peel back the layers of the onion a little bit, it's almost impressive. I don't want to quite give it that much, but it's almost impressive that he's accomplished as much as he has, given how much chaos and this game of political musical chairs that we've seen in all these leadership roles within the White House. But this tax reform, the corporate tax reform, that's something Republicans talk about a lot. But I think a lot of the everyday American people don't know what that means for them and their everyday lives. How is that going to impact us, our paychecks, our jobs, our health care? Brad, explain that. How is that going to impact everyday Americans?
Yeah, I lost your signal for a minute, but I think I caught the gist of it. But I do believe that the average person really is going to benefit from all of these initiatives that we're seeing, especially this tax plan. I think is going to be the critical piece of this because look, everything really translate. The healthcare is all about affordability. Infrastructure is all about affordability. So everything really is going to come down to affordability and, make America great again. You've got a billionaire. He's worth multiples of billions. I wrote about that in my book. But he's here to make everybody else, wealthy in this economy. And I think that's what we're starting to see here today. The media's given him no credit for this. But I believe the average person, the average supporter that I see, I'm here in South Carolina. I see this every day throughout my travels, when I'm in Uber, wherever I'm at, wherever state I'm in. I see these average people who are really starting to see the benefits of having President Donald J. Trump in office. And again, I think the job creation is the biggest thing. And again, look at these job numbers today, 4.3% unemployment, 209,000 jobs created. The run rate for this, Liz, if we take that run rate and extrapolate it for his term in office, we're looking at 20 million jobs that this president will create. Now, tell me that's not going to benefit a supporter of Trump or a non-supporter.
Right. And those numbers aren't just random. They aren't just happenstance. They're not disassociated with the accomplishments and the things that Trump has done since he got into office. I mean, you look at energy, even withdrawing us from the Paris Climate Accords, rolling back these regulations, the Clean Power Plan, all those types of things, that makes a difference in people's capacity to create jobs and businesses' capacity to create jobs. And that's what we're seeing. The translation is finally starting to come to fruition. And the mainstream media, I think, is doing a disservice to the American people by not talking about that, even if the other drama is more interesting on the surface. Brad, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it. All right, guys, don't go anywhere. We have Sagar and Jetty here next with new reports that President Trump's national security advisor, General H.R. McMaster, disagrees with everything Trump wants to do and is pursuing his own agenda within the National Security Council. That one's next.